Good morning or afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeremy Walsh, and I am the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for BNI Connect. I would like to welcome everybody to the webinar today. Today's webinar is part 2 in a 5-part series that we've put together specifically for new members or people that are just discovering about BNI Connect, how to do all of the various things that a member gets to do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis in BNI Connect. Our first episode, which was just a couple of days ago, was really how to fill out your profile, how to get the most out of that visibility and credibility of having your profile out there with BNI Connect. Today's session is, again, part 2 in the series, and we're going to be talking about giving and tracking referrals online. So really, all those paper slips that we enter on a weekly basis at our chapter meetings, we can do all of those online in BNI Connect digitally. And this offers a number of benefits over the paper slips, not the least of which is a history of everything that you've done, every item that you've passed. One of the bad parts about passing paper at the meeting is that once you hand that piece of paper over to the vice president, you don't have the details anymore. When you enter these online in BNI Connect, you can go back and review all of those, all the way back to the very first online referral that you pass. So if you start today, you can start building that history. The other great part about it is for any vice presidents that might be out there, it makes their jobs a whole lot easier. Rather than having to count up all of the paper slips, all of this information is entered into the POMS report automatically. There's also a tracking mechanism where you can go back and track your received referrals as well. So we're going to review all of that today before we get started. Just a couple of quick housekeeping things. First of which is that this is a live recording. So if you have any questions whatsoever as we're going through the material today, please do feel free to ask those questions. I will be happy to answer them as we're going through the webinar today. Or if it's something completely and totally unrelated, we can definitely have some time at the end for as many questions as you'd like to ask. The best way to ask those questions is to please type the questions in to the questions panel. I'll see those pop up on my screen and it will alert me that you've input a question. We will be recording today's session. It will be made available in a couple of different places. You can always find our recordings on the support site. Now, the best way to get to the support site is to click on the question mark button in the upper right-hand side of BNI Connect. So here you'll see this question mark in the upper right-hand side. Just click that and it will bring you over to our support site. So you'll see our list of upcoming webinars for the rest of the month, but you can also review the recorded webinars. I'm hoping to have the recordings for October up there in the next day or two, the ones that we've done so far in this past week. You can also scroll down and there's a bunch of documentation down here as well. You can also go directly to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. And up here we have our entire series of videos. There are a few hundred videos up here that you can go through. Most of them are the recorded webinars that we do on a monthly basis. So whereas the content is usually similar from month to month, it's the questions that change with every recording. You'll also find some other things like educational moments. For example, if you wanted to go back to your chapter and show them how to do the online slips, there is a short 3 to 5 minute video that you can share with them right from our YouTube page. If you'd like to be alerted when these are updated, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and be happy to notify you when new things are uploaded. All right, but let's go back to BNI Connect and let's take a look at this online referrals and how does this work? Now, when you log into BNI Connect for the first time, what you'll see is this is your home screen, and on the home screen is a bunch of great information. Here you can update your profile and change your password and all that stuff at the top. Once you've taken a member success program, you should see the MSP badge up at the top. But if we scroll down, now we get into kind of the heart of our day-to-day activity here in BNI Connect. Now, the top of this is the My BNI Business. The My BNI Business is really your activity in BNI and in BNI Connect. So every week, regardless of whether you're using the paper slips or whether you're using the online slips, we keep track of all that information in the PALMS report, and this is really a snapshot of your PALMS report. So you can see your referrals received and thank you for closed business and referrals given and one-to-ones and visitors and CEUs and all of that information. All of that is up here in the My BNI Business Report. One thing to keep in mind is that even though you may be submitting referrals on a day-to-day basis or on a week-to-week basis, these numbers only get updated after your vice president officially submits the weekly report. So they do have to review all of the information. Again, if there's any paper slips, they do have to go in and count those all up and attribute it to the right people. Once they've submitted that, then these numbers will change. So please keep that in mind. Even while we're testing today, when I go and I submit a test referral slip, you'll notice that, again, these numbers up top won't change until after the meeting has been recorded. Now, one slight modification to that is that the thank you for closed business, the revenue received to my business, that number for everybody will start at 0. So even if you do have a bunch of other statistics for the referrals and visitors, etc., the revenue received to your business will only be updated when you submit thank you for closed business slips online. In other words, if I closed a referral that somebody gave me and I give them a thank you for closed business, let's say for $1,000, it will go in their PALMS report because in the PALMS report, we record what people have generated. However, if you're doing these slips electronically, we'll track for you how much money you're making. Obviously, if you're thanking somebody else, that means that that is money that you've made in your business. So we will track that for you here in BNI Connect, and we will keep that number for you here on the revenue received to my business. Now, the bottom part of this screen is where we're going to do our activity. So all of these links, the top 4 links are the 4 different types of slips that you can submit. A thank you for closed business slip, a referral slip, a one-to-one slip, and a CEU slip. The bottom part of it is your ability to review the slips that you've both given and received. And then all the way at the bottom, we also have the opportunity to print our weekly slips. So let's take a look at how all of this works. Now, most common thing that we're going to have is hopefully we're going to have referrals on a weekly basis. If you have a referral for somebody else, what you can do is click on Submit Referral Slip. Now, when I click that button to submit a referral slip, it will open up an electronic version of the referrals. This should look pretty familiar. It's the same exact form as the normal paper slips that we're using on a weekly basis in our chapter, just an electronic copy of it. So from here, I just need to choose somebody from my chapter. So let's say I have a referral here for Carrie Vassatoro. She is the banker in my chapter, and this referral is to John Smith, and this is an outside referral. I can mark whether I gave them their card or whether I told them that they would call, or both. I give them the address, 1 Smith Way in Smithville, Rhode Island, the telephone number, email address, John at Smithco, and any comments. John is looking to open a business line of credit. I can then rate this referral on a scale of 1 to 5, whether it is a very hot referral or a medium referral. And when I'm ready, I can choose to either save a new or submit. Now, save a new means it's going to save this slip, it's going to submit it, and it will immediately open up another one. So if you have multiple ones to put in, you have 2, 3, 4 referrals to give, you can just keep doing them one after the other without going back to the home page, or I can just submit this single slip. I'm going to go ahead and submit this one. Now, one of the great things about this is that it will immediately save this slip for you to go and review at any time. And again, this is one of the differences between this and the paper slips that we pass at the meeting, is I can immediately go and review my referral slips. So these are all the referral slips that I've entered recently. So I can choose, by default, it's going to give me the last 1 month, but I mean, I can go back. We started using this in 2012. So I mean, I can go back and get data going as far back as 2012. And this would be every single slip I've ever input into BNI Connect. And all the way at the bottom here, we have the slip from today, 10/15/15, and Kerry Vassatoro for John Smith. It has all of the details. And the one thing you'll notice as well is that this one is in draft mode, whereas you can see some of these other ones here are completed. And what that means is this is the POMS status. When it's completed, it means that our vice president has completed the report, and now all of the statistics are official. So I should see that number as part of my my BNI business and any other statistics I might pull in the system. When they're in draft mode, it means that our meeting either hasn't happened yet or the vice president hasn't officially submitted the report about the meeting yet, and those numbers will be official once that has happened, and this will change from draft to completed. So the next type of slip, and Judith, I do see your question there, so we'll get to that in just a second. But the next type of slip that we might want to submit is a thank you for closed business slip. Oh, by the way, I forgot something. When you submit a referral slip, your referral partner will get a notification about that right away. So as soon as you submit that slip, boom, an email goes out, gets sent to that person, your referral partner. They'll receive it in their email, on their phones, however they're going to receive their emails, and they'll be able to follow up on that referral immediately. So a lot of times we wait until our weekly meeting before we pass those referrals. Now you can actually start following up on that process right away. For example, here's one. I am a chapter member, by the way. I'm a member of the Wakefield chapter here in Rhode Island. Have been since 2002, so I'm coming up on almost 14 years. But this is a referral I had received a couple of days ago. It was rated 5 on the scale. It has the referral name and address and all the information to get in touch with them. Now, it also has the comments, and it has the referral partner's information at the bottom. So again, I don't have to wait until the weekly meeting to follow up on it. I can follow up on that right away. All right, so the next type of slip that we can usually put in is once we've closed that deal, once we've the referral has landed, and we have gotten some revenue to our business. We want to thank the person that generated that revenue for our business. And we do that by submitting a thank you for closed business slip. And again, this is the same layout format as the paper slips. We can just choose somebody from our chapter. Let's say that I had a referral that closed from Phil Jaber. He had referred me to his cousin. And that was a referral that resulted in $5,200 for my business. It was new business and it was an outside referral. The great thing about this is I can put in whatever comments I want. The comments will remain private to you, so nobody else can see the comments except for you, which is helpful because you'll be able to go back and review those comments later. But I can put in that this was for Phil's cousin Bob that needed 2 new computers for his office. So I can put in exactly what it was about and be able to remind myself about it later. Now again, I have the option save and new, submit, or close. Close will just cancel out. Now I have another thank you for closed business I'd like to enter, so I'm going to do save and new. And this will submit that one. See, it says submitted successfully, and it immediately opens another one. And here's where we're going to come to your question, Judith. Judith says, well, what if you have a thank you for closed business for another chapter or from another chapter? Well, one of the great things about the online slips is that we can do, in most areas, we can do what's called a cross-chapter referral or a cross-chapter thank you for closed business or a cross-chapter one-to-one. Now, this is a region-specific permission, so if you don't see this button here, it means that this is not enabled in your particular region. That is a discussion to be had with your executive director. But here in Rhode Island and in most of the United States, we can record all of this cross-chapter activity that we're doing with the larger local network. So let's say that I had a thank you for closed business. I have a relationship with somebody in another chapter. They referred somebody to me, and I turned that into closed business. I can click on Search Cross Chapter, and this will allow me to search for anybody else in Rhode Island. So they do have to be part of your region in BNI. So sometimes that's the whole state. Rhode Island is a pretty small state. So in my case, it happens to be all of Rhode Island. In other cases, it'll be the immediate chapters around your area that's part of your BNI region. So I'm going to do a search. His name's David Cordero. I never remember whether it's Dave or David in the system, so I'm just going to put the first couple of letters. And same thing with Cordero. I'm just going to put C for the last name. And let's see what we have here. Oh, here it is, David Cordero. David Cordero is in the CityBiz chapter. This is the person I'm looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and select David. It's going to ask me if I'm sure that's the right selection. And now I can do a cross-chapter thank you. Put in the amount of the referral. Let's say this one was for $250. And I can again put the comments in for a referral to his client that needed a computer cleanup or something. So again, putting those details in for me, and I'm going to go ahead and submit this. Now with the cross chapter thank you for closed business, that will show up on David's POMS report. And it will show up on his POMS report when it's a cross chapter activity. Both of the POMS reports do need to be closed out. So after my weekly meeting and after his weekly meeting, when both of our vice presidents have closed out the reports, that thank you for closed business will appear on his report. Now it is already appearing though on my thank you for closed business slips report. So I can still click on this report, and you'll see right here it says the one to David Cordero for $250 and the one to Phil Jaber for $5,200. They're both here in the system. You will see that they're both draft status, and they will remain draft status again until both of the thank you for closed business, both of the POMS reports have been closed out. So hopefully, Judith, does that answer your question there? And then Jacqueline, I think that'll also answer your question about how do you record activity with other chapters. Now, if you make a mistake when you're entering a slip, so let's say that this one here to David Cordero, that wasn't $250, actually $350, and I need to make a correction. As long as it's still in draft, I can go in and edit that slip. So I can click on Edit Delete Slips, and this will allow me to go in. This shows me all of the slips that are still in draft mode. So this thank you for closed business to David Cordero, I can go in and I can delete it entirely if I want to, or I can edit it. And I can even choose a different person that this went to, or I can change the amount. Let's say this is supposed to be $350, and it was actually repeat business. It wasn't new business. So I can make any changes I need to make. And then it did open in a new window, so I can close that and go back to the report here. And that will now be updated to $350. All right, Barbara says, what about somebody who's just left BNI? So if somebody has left BNI, let me go back to the submit a thank you for closed business slip. You'll notice at the bottom of the list here, there's two things, BNI and visitor. So while we don't record the actual referrals to these people anymore, what we do is if they did result in closed business, especially alumni members, you want to put those under the BNI choice. And if you did business with a visitor, then you can also choose visitor. All right, hopefully that answers your question. Barbara, I think that was your question there. And Judith, yes, you'll want to follow up with your chapter and or if it was a cross chapter, the other chapter. All right. So the next thing that you can enter is one-to-ones, and you can also enter CEUs. So the one-to-ones, just again, pretty similar, same form. You can just choose somebody from your chapter or a cross chapter. You can choose who initiated it, the location that we met, Starbucks, topics of conversation. Elizabeth Berman is the director of the chamber, so next fundraiser for the chamber ideas, and the date that we met, and let's say that we met yesterday. And I can submit this. Now, when you do a one-to-one, only one person of the one-to-one pair needs to enter that one-to-one. It will appear in both people's reports, and both people will get credit for it in the Palms. Of course, it will be here in my review my one-to-one slips as well. And here is my one-to-one with Elizabeth Berman. And finally, we do have CEUs. And CEUs, for example, today, everybody wants to go in as soon as we're done today, or you can do it right now if you want to. I promise you, you promise me that you'll be on for the rest of the webinar today. Just go ahead and submit yourself 1 credit for today's BNI webinar. So please do go ahead and submit a CEU. Annie says, well, can you edit the CEU slips as well if you make an error? Yes, absolutely. You can either delete it or make edits to it. Just keep in mind it does still need to be in draft mode. So hopefully that answers your question, Annie. All right, so let's see, Jacqueline, Jacqueline has a question. She says, I'm attempting to find somebody who's in my region, but their name isn't showing up. So when that happens, for example, let's say I have a referral and I'm going to search cross chapter. This is again where it's a little bit different than Google. Like with Google, what you want to do is you want to put in a ton of information because you're looking against billions and billions of web pages and records out there and trying to shrink it down. In BNI Connect is a database. So we're doing a database search, and with database searches, you really need to be, I guess, more exact in what you're looking for. So again, with David Cordero, if I put in Dave Cordero, I'm going to do a search here, and it's not finding anything. So I really want to make sure that either I have the name right or I put in less information and that will find him. So what I find is a lot of people are putting in the full information, David Cordero, and they're putting the full company information in, cyber technical, LLC, and they're doing a search and not realizing that, it's not Cyber Technical LLC, it's Cyber Technical Inc., or it's just Cyber Technical. So it's better to put in less information and then be able to filter the results than it is to put in more information and not get any results. All right, hopefully that helps, Jacqueline. Althea says, does only the person who initiates the one-to-one get credit? Enter it into the Palms, but both get credit. So it doesn't matter who enters the one-to-one. Just one person needs to enter it. So one thing you may want to add to your repertoire when you're sitting down and having your one-to-ones is, hey, who's going to enter it into BNI Connect? But it doesn't really matter who enters it, just as long as somebody enters it. Both people will get credit for it, and it will show up in both people's one-to-one slips report. So again, both people get Palms, and it will show up in both people's report. If somebody tries to enter a second one-to-one, so let's say that with Elizabeth Berman right there, if Elizabeth went back to her office and tried to enter the one-to-one as well, it will throw up a red flag and say, I'm sorry, there's already a one-to-one entered. Are you sure you want to enter another one? I mean, it will let you enter a second one, but you do have to override it. All right. Now, with the referrals that you receive, there's also a received referrals report. So anybody that has sent you a referral in BNI Connect, you can review all of those referrals as well. So these are all referrals that I've received from people that have submitted them electronically. Again, if they're submitting it on paper, you won't have this detail. But if they submit them electronically, we can help you to track all of those referrals. The great thing about that is, again, we can go back and I can look up this information anytime I want to. The other great thing is I know I personally use this. Sometimes your business may be different, but sometimes there's a long sales cycle. So, I may get a referral, this week, but, it's a whole network setup or something like that. It might take 2 or 3 or 4 months to finally close that deal or get paid on it. I use this report to make sure that I go back and I thank people for those referrals that I've received in a given period of time. The other thing you can do with this is you'll notice that there's a status column, new, closed, pending, things like that. So I can use this to actually have a two-way conversation with my referral sources and with the people I'm giving referrals to. Now, you can update all of the status as well as when you contacted them and gave a presentation and a follow-up. You can update all of that information through the referral tracking sheet. So here's the link right here. Track your referrals received online. Oops, I clicked the wrong button there. Track your referrals received online. And what this does is it allows you to basically track any referrals that people have given you in BNI Connect. Now I'm in the test system right now, so it might take me a minute to find, I don't get many referrals in the test system. But here we have one here. So we have this referral that I received from Stephanie Ashworth. Now I can go in and edit this. And I can change any of the information on here. Keep in mind, this does not impact the PALMS report. This is for your own tracking purposes only. But you can mark when you contacted them, when you met with them, when you followed up with them. You can make the status from new to pending to closed or a no sale. And this field here, the status, is shared with the referral giver in their referrals given report. All right, and finally, one question I'm always asked is, what about the meeting? What are we supposed to do now that we don't have these paper slips that we're filling out at the chapter meeting? Well, one thing to keep in mind is that we don't want to change that part of the meeting at all. That is a very, very, very important part of the meeting, celebrating our activity for the week. The difference is that we don't necessarily have to fill out those pieces of paper because all of that information is already entered into the PALMS report. However, we do still want to celebrate it, and there's a couple of things that you can do. Down at the bottom here, we have a print your weekly slips. And if I click go, you'll see that the referral slip that I entered, the one for Kerry Vasatoro, is here. We also have a thank you for closed business that I entered to Phil Gaber and David Cordero, and the one-to-one I had with Elizabeth Berman, and the CEU slip that I had this week. So all of this information is here. I can print this out. It will use my own printer and ink and paper and all of that. You'll notice that the referral slip is about the same shape and size as a regular referral slip. This is so that you can cut this out. You might have to bring a pair of scissors and keep those in the chapter president's box or in the business card box that goes around or something like that. You can hand that one in so that you can be chosen for the door prize. It can also be used at that point by the vice presidents for a referral reality check. The rest of the information, the thank you for closed business, the one-to-ones, the CEUs, they don't need to be in slip format since they're already in the POMs. However, we have it nice and organized so we can stand up and say, I had a referral to Kerry. I have thank you for closed business to Phil, to David. I had a one-to-one with Elizabeth, and I had one CEU this week. It keeps that part of the meeting flowing and organized. Now, if you don't want to use your own printer and ink and paper and all that, that's fine. There should be referral slips available still at your chapter meetings for a very long time to come. My suggestion is just to make sure that if you're filling out regular slips and handing those in and your chapter is doing some paper slips and some online slips, make sure you put an X through that paper slip so that your vice president is alerted, hey, this one was already entered online. It's usually fairly obvious once they go to enter the POMS report anyway, but this just helps give them a visual cue right away. All right, so we are at the bottom of the hour. What I'd like to do is to open this up to questions. While you're thinking of any questions, just if there's anybody that does need to leave right away, I want to thank you so much for being here. This will be recorded, and the recording will be made available both on our support site and on our YouTube channel. All right, so we have one question. We had a question from Tammy. How do we print the slips? And I think we just went over that, so we should be all set there. Let me know if you have further questions on that, Tammy. Deepti says hi. Deepti, thank you for being here. I recognize you from a couple of other webinars. Annie says, is there a way to input a visitor invitation so the leaders know there is a visitor expected? Absolutely. So there's a couple of ways. We actually do a whole webinar on the visitor process. We'll be doing the visitor webinar. That is going to be happening on October 26th. So about 11 days from now, we're going to be going through the entire visitor process. But there's just a quick rundown of how that happens. It can be done two ways. So if you go to operations, the operations menu, that's where we do our data input, operations. And under manage visitors, which is the first option at the top, you should see, most people will only see this one option, which is register a prospective visitor. That allows you to input a visitor. When you do that, they get an email notification. The leadership team gets an email notification, and the visitor will get a reminder 2 days before the meeting. So definitely register people that way. You can also do it through your regional website. You can do that again. My regional website happens to be bniri.com for Rhode Island, but your own region has your own regional website. Just click this regional website button if you're not sure what it is. But if I go to find a chapter, so here's my Wakefield chapter here. And one of the things that you can see is a button that says visit this chapter. And this allows you to register through the public website as well. It does the same email notifications and registration process that it does on the inside of BNI Connect. So does that answer your question, Annie? And again, we have a much more detailed version of that coming up on the 26th of October. You can check out one of the recordings as well. Karen says, some of my numbers are off. Who might I speak with regarding this? The best person to talk to is your vice president, or talk with your director consultant. Now, here's a little hint for you. The best way to figure out which numbers are off, you should see a report up here at the top that says My Personal Participation Report. This is a great report because what it does is it shows you your week-by-week activity. So it gives every single week what was entered into the POMS report. So if you think your numbers are off, the best thing to do is to print out this report and go through it line by line, either with your vice president or go through it and figure out which weeks has the wrong information. And from there, you can your vice president should be able to go in, or your director consultant should be able to go in and make any corrections that are necessary. So does that help, Karen? All right, Deepti, I'm happy to take your questions. So Deepti says, if this is repeat business, how do you do that? So repeat business, again, thank you for closed business slip. There is an option here for repeat business. So you definitely want to be putting in the repeat business as you're getting that thank you for closed business. All right, so Jessica says, can you confirm that we get 1 CEU for attending? For some reason, I thought 5 webinars equaled 1. So for this, you do get 1 CEU for today's webinar. Generally speaking, it's the 5 podcasts because the podcasts are only about 10 minutes apiece, so 5 of them equals about an hour. These webinars are usually about 45 minutes, close enough to an hour, so we do give 1 credit for the webinar here. You'll notice that most of these are roughly equivalent to how long the investment is in the learning opportunity. Karen says, if I missed the first webinar, where might I find it? Best way to find that is to click on this question mark in the upper right-hand corner. That will take you over to the support site. On the support site, the first thing you'll see here is the upcoming BNI Connect webinars. If you'd like to join us for any of the other ones, please do. I will have, right now I don't have the October series uploaded. I haven't converted them yet to the right format, but I will be uploading them. I'm hoping to get to them today or tomorrow, but as soon as I do, you will see the October 2015 series right here. But you can also, if you'd like to, review the September one. So if I just click on September, here's all of the webinars from September. So you could see the complete your profile, which is step 1. Again, the content is largely the same from month to month, but the questions are a little bit different each month. Karen says, so they are ongoing? Yep, they are ongoing. I do the same series, this 9 webinar series, which is the 5 steps, and then a couple of special leadership team ones. I do this series every month. And so especially if you have new members that join next month or the month after or the month after that, please direct them to this webinar series and be happy to teach them all about BNI Connect. All right, Deepti, did you have another question? Deepti says, if you review previous webinars, is it another CEU? Here's my guideline for this. I would say for every hour that you invest in learning more about BNI Connect or about BNI or about referrals, or you read a book, that is worth another CEU. That's what the CEUs were intended for, was to give you ongoing credit for sharpening your saw or for the additional learning that you're doing. So hopefully that answers your question. All right, that was the last question I had. Does anybody have any additional questions? Happy to answer those questions now. Jacqueline just says thank you, and I'll try to see if I can input all these outside referrals and one-to-ones. Excellent. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. If you have any trouble, you can always email us, support@bniconnect.com, and we'd be happy to help. A good referral for me, by the way, please keep these upcoming webinars in mind. If you know somebody that needs a little bit more help in BNI Connect, please refer them to this webinar series. I would love to have more and more people on these webinars. Thank you guys so much for being here today, and I look forward to seeing some of you on our very next webinar, which is going to be connecting with other members, and we're going to be doing that this coming Tuesday at this same time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, noon Pacific. I think it's also 8 p.m. in the UK. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and happy connecting.